David Moyes has pleaded for Kalvin Phillips to be given some support. I mean, he was always going to say that. I expected him to say that. In fact, I'd go as far as to say he was right. Absolutely right to say it. I said it in the previous video. I said that he would back him in the way that he backed Kurt Zouma. Although I do think there are differences between the two things. It has to be said. But there's no way David Moyes can come out and say, I'm disgusted with him. Throw him under the bus. Literally, throw him under the bus. Don't let him on the bus. He's not going to say that type of thing. I'll tell you exactly what David Moyes said. He said, Kalvin Phillips is a human being. Old observation there. And what he needs now is support behind him. We're giving him that, and we're all going to help him to keep going as much as we possibly can. He's a good international footballer, and I'm confident he can still make something of the time we've got left with him here. It's funny. He's trying to say the right thing there, David Moyes. He really is. But by him saying in the time he's got left there, he is pretty much confirming he ain't going to be here for too much longer. All I would say is with this on David Moyes that he's in control of this. I think he was in control before, but he's certainly in control now. And what I mean by that is he can give him support. I think they're two separate things. Asking the fans to basically all rally round behind Kalvin Phillips, or there's a difference between that and the club staff rallying around him, as I think they should, and I think they will. That really, it should have begun and ended there, really. I don't think he's in a position to really be expecting or demanding it. Look, Kalvin Phillips was his signing. Kalvin Phillips has made a mistake. Everybody can make a mistake. However, I think Moyes would be very, very silly to throw him, I was going to say a lion's den. It's not really the lion's den, is it? I don't think there's a huge amount of hatred for Kalvin Phillips. Far from it. But he didn't help himself by swearing. The fan that called him, what did he say, useless. Certainly didn't help himself by doing that. But even without that, there wasn't an awful lot of demand or desire to see Kalvin Phillips play at all against Tottenham. So, just because he's been crap. It's not been a successful signing. I mean, I don't know if you saw this. Since I did the video earlier, there's been a story circulating that Leeds think they're going to get Kalvin Phillips on the cheap for 30 million. I honestly thought it was an April Fool's one until I checked it, and no, it was actually a bona fide story. That's not the most ridiculous non-April Fool's story I've heard on April Fool's Day, by the way. But yeah, look, he's just not. He's a busted flush. Look, hopefully for him and for his career, he can come back at some point in the future. But don't play him against Tottenham. Don't call for support and then put him out on the pitch and then sort of, I don't know, be surprised if you don't get it. Because it's not just, I think, a moan at Kalvin Phillips is not just a frustration with Kalvin Phillips. It's basically, if Kalvin Phillips, let's say we saw the sign came up and Kalvin Phillips was going to come on as a substitute. He won't start him, but if he's going to come on as a substitute, there'd probably be some moans and groans. Let's put it that way. They're not just moans and groans at Kalvin Phillips, though. They're moans and groans with the manager's decisions. You know, it very much symbolises David Moyes, doesn't it? We should have got a winger. We should have got a striker. I do think we also should have got a midfielder. Well, David Moyes did none of that. He brought in a defensive midfielder, and actually it turned out he's useless. And then, actually, when you've looked at the last couple of games, be they Aston Villa or be it Newcastle, he's withdrawn a forward player and put a defensive player on both occasions, and we've gone on and we've basically, lost a winning lead. Winning lead? All leads are winning. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Lost a lead in both games. Kalvin Phillips symbolises what David Moyes has done wrong and what David Moyes is doing wrong. So I think they are moans and groans at David Moyes as much as anything else, it has to be said. It's not the only bit of bad news, let's be fair, ahead of, well, I don't even know I'm going to upload this. I'm recording this video on Monday night, on Bank Holiday Monday. Hope you had all had a nice Easter, by the way. It's bad news ahead of the Tottenham game. It really has to be said that he's already confirmed that Alphonse Areola is not going to be available for the game. He said he pulled his groin, which I don't know why. It shouldn't really make me laugh, should it really? But it always does. Fabianski, look, he didn't cover himself in glory. It has to be said. Don't get me wrong. I think he had no chance with a penalty, and even the Harvey Barnes goal, the long range one, the Rippenschnorten, that was more of a Curlenmeister, really, wasn't it? But I thought that was he didn't really have a lot of chance with that. But the one through the legs, the ricochet, I thought he'd lost. He was a little bit nervous. So look, Moyes has got some. He's not got a decision to make. Basically, I think Areola would have been back in. Fabianski's an able keeper, though, but I do think it's bad news because, like Gio mentioned when we did our preview, he's our number one. Areola is very much, we have a number one and a number two, not one of those at the moment, don't we? So, anyway, listen, before we give you a little Brucey bonus today, basically, what we're going to do is from our player ratings over on Patreon, which our Patreon's basically our third Hammers Chat channel, we basically had a right old rant up about David Moyes, myself and Gio. It's quite a long one, but you know what? It's quite a long time before the game, so hopefully you might enjoy it. Make yourself a cuppa, sit back. We basically, after every single Premier League game, well, and European game, actually, we always do player ratings. There's loads, and I mean, we write it down, we collate it all, and we decide at the end of it who's going to be our Hammer of the Year. It's over on Patreon, patreon.com/Hammers Chat. If you want to see the whole thing, we've got a 7-day free trial. We seem to have that running all the time at the moment for Patreon. We've got loads and loads of stuff, be it, well, it's not just that. We've got opposition previews. We've got Hammerlytics. We've got the Anton Ferdinand podcast. We've got our Naked podcast. We're fully clothed for that, but it is a good laugh, or we like to think so. Anyway, we give away loads of prizes, signed shirts, tickets, honestly, all types of stuff. We think it's excellent value, but I guess we would say that. The rest, I'll leave up to you. The link's in the description below, by the way, if you want to go and check out Hammers Chat Patreon. And don't forget, if you are a patron, make sure you get your player predictions in because, as you know, signed shirts are getting one. Right, I was going to say over to Gio, but it's not really. It's over to me. They followed the manager's instructions in the first half and played really well, and we got up to 3-1. They followed the manager's instructions after the substitution, and we conceded 3 goals. There have been some times when we've lost, he could walk in that dressing room and have a go at the players. He had no business telling those players off. I'd often make the case that David Moyes might go in the dressing room and say, right, you go out, you're not included in this, and then have a go at everybody. There was, you know, what's he going to do? Send everyone out and have a go at Soufal and Phillips? I really don't know. And to be fair, they were both on him and they were both avoidable anyway because Soufal, I thought, stupidly, Soufal might be changed at half-time. And Phillips' substitution didn't have to be made at all. There's a number of people blaming, the VAR stuff for all of this. And I don't wish to dismiss it. In some terms, because I do believe that there was a real case for the penalty not being a penalty, right? The second one, I really do. I saw him not blind to what happened. I saw him kick his leg, and he's put his leg in. Gordon put his leg in the way for it to be kicked. I'm aware that there might have been an obstruction, but basically, I think my problem is for you to take all of these excuses every time. Be it that penalty that perhaps shouldn't be a penalty, or Thomas Souček not being awarded a handball in the 95th minute, or whatever, for us to get a penalty. You'd have to look at it and think, wow, West Ham are the unluckiest team in European and domestic football, and we're just not, because we shouldn't have even been in that position. We really shouldn't have been in that position by inviting them upon ourselves. It was working, and if Antonio wasn't quite ready, then he should have done something else. What he should have done was he should have moved Cornet up front, or put Cornet on the left wing and moved Kudus up front, or Mabama wouldn't have been. But any of those choices would have been better than what he actually did. And he sort of half apologised for it, and then half justified it by saying, "Oh, we were struggling and we needed defensive. The defence needed help, and we had defensive reinforcements." Well, I would argue the defence were doing pretty damn well, and so was Thomas Souček, and the stats have bear that out in front of them. There was one person having a really shaky game that could have been sorted out, but Newcastle were on the ropes. I said it in my immediate video afterwards. I've heard enough people say it since then to suggest that what I thought I saw was right. And they got let off, that we let them off. The last thing they'd have wanted to see was another quick player being introduced as Antonio was tiring. It's the last thing they would have wanted to see. I mean, really, you could have done almost anything there, because you players playing out in position, substitutes being substituted. The last centre-back standing was walking around holding his hamstring. I mean, they were just there to be killed off. They weren't a threat. We had just entered a period of the game where we were dominating possession. That's how bad they were at that point, and we never dominate possession. And at that particular point, with victory in his grasp, with Newcastle pretty much waving the white flag, with all their substitutions done, at that very point, David Moyes thought, "Oh, we're in danger here," and that is. I'm sorry, he's up his trolley. He really, really is. And so David Moyes lost us that game. And yes, we could sit here and explain why David Moyes got us in a position where we were winning that game, but he lost us that game because what he perceived to be dangerous when there was no danger superseded what was clearly there, which was you had a wounded animal there in front of you, a wounded animal. Finish them off. Or just you only have to finish them off. Keep attacking them. It may even have just ended 3-1. We might not have scored. We would have had corners, we've been hitting posts, stuff like that. They would have had enough. They were breaking. And the funny thing is, he was looking at it and thinking, that Antonio's tired. The irony is not half as tired as the guy that he's up against, who's also tired and injured. Massive opportunity missed, and I completely blame him.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 2. He's got 100% of the blame doesn't lie at David Moyes' door, but for me, 90% of it does. I think it wasn't even difficult. Sometimes a lot of our players play badly, and I almost refuse to mark David Moyes down because I think, well, what's he meant to do when 4 or 5 of the players are playing crap? That's too much. He's not going to sub all 5 outfielders at once. So it's a difficult job for him. But on Saturday, there was one player playing really badly in the first half. One player. You've literally got a direct replacement sat on the bench. There isn't a direct replacement for Antonio. There is in terms of strikers, but in terms of style and play, there isn't one. While Johnson and Soufal are not similar in terms of their strengths and weaknesses, what is Soufal's strength? Let's just say his crossing was one of his strengths. He wasn't doing that. So he wasn't getting forward and whipping in crosses or anything. All he was doing or was trying to do was just defend. That's all Soufal was trying to do and struggling with it. There was an easy sub to be done with Ben Johnson coming on for Vladimir Soufal. A simple solution, and he didn't do it. We go back 2 weeks ago. Now, David Moyes sometimes doesn't have the benefit of time between Thursday, Sunday. It's difficult. Training ground, there's not much time there in terms of reviewing your previous game and get ready for the next one. There's not a load of time. But between Aston Villa and Newcastle, it was 2 weeks. There's plenty of time. The best he's ever going to get. He's not going to get longer than this. Against Aston Villa, we were having a good game. Took Mikel Antonio off. Villa were on top and got their equaliser. You think, well, there's a clue there. So against Newcastle, Antonio's tired. He thinks, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did against Aston Villa. And let's hope it doesn't happen again. Let's hope lightning doesn't strike twice in this instance. He's had 2 weeks to learn from his error against Aston Villa. You look at the Aston Villa game, I thought we played quite well. But we only got a point. Yeah. We dropped 2 points. Why? Well, there was a significant part of that game, which is when both managers started doing subs. One team got stronger and better, and one team got weaker. Newcastle, I thought we played quite well. Then something significant happens. Substitutions happen. One team gets better and stronger despite injuries. The other team gets weaker. It's the same thing. If you just simplify it down, it's the exact same thing 2 weeks apart. He didn't even learn from a fortnight ago. It is so frustrating because I think he got his starting 11 right. I think up until the hour mark, 3-1 up, it's hello. I started to think we were going to get 3 points. I was buzzing at the prospect of 3 points. I thought, look at this Newcastle team. Player went down injured. Shah was injured and he got up again. I thought, oh, look at this. Even he's injured. Three subs at once. Thought, Howe's lost it. He's lost it. Livermedo's off injured. Shah's injured. Play resumed for a minute and Almiron sat down. He just come on. I thought, this is brilliant. I said, this is fantastic. Eddie Howe can't do anything. Howe's done. So here we go. This is easy. Surely, as an opposition manager, could you get a better set of circumstances where you're 3-1 up? The other teams had to do all 5 subs and he's had to replace 2 subs that have come back off again. One through injuries, only on the pitch for a minute. Your centre back's now injured for the rest of the game. You can't take him off. You've used up all your subs. Could there be a better set of circumstances for you as a manager to go on and win that game? I remember a really old version of FIFA. I think it was FIFA. Really old version. And there was a bit on the game. It was like scenarios where like you'd start the game as Liverpool at half time with 3-0 down to AC Milan. So you had to use the Liverpool Champions League squad, and you're playing. It was like, can you go on and win this game? Because this happened in football.
Can you be 4-3? Yeah, can you win 4-3? Yeah.
You'd be Man United against Bayern Munich when you've got 10 minutes on the clock. Can you go win 2-1? Right? Eddie Howe was in that situation, but somehow he's gone and won 4-3. I lay the blame at David Moyes' door to take off Antonio. I get it. But to bring on Phillips and put Ward-Prowse in the number 10 position, because you've dropped James Ward-Prowse recently, that, in my opinion, is you admitting it's not worked.
Yeah.
You taking Ward-Prowse out the number 10 position and putting him on the bench suggests that you don't think he's performed well there. So why the fuck do you think the solution is put Ward-Prowse in the number 10 position? We've got them on the ropes. Oh, yeah, let's have Ward-Prowse creating for Lucas Paqueta. Let's have James Ward-Prowse trying to play Lucas Paqueta, the creative player, through on goal. Oh, right, yeah, that's genius, isn't it? What? I just don't get it. I honestly do not get it. After the game, he said, the defence was under the cosh. Oh, so you decided to invite more pressure on the defence. Oh, that would work, wouldn't it? We're under pressure. So let's sit back further. Let's have one less attacking outlet on the pitch, one less threat to Newcastle, invite them on. They finished the game with Jacob Murphy right back, and our left winger was Ben Johnson. They finished the game with Fabian Schär with one leg, and up until 2 minutes ago, our striker was Lucas Paqueta. What? I'm glaring weaknesses. And our answer is, yeah, but let's make sure Jacob Murphy doesn't make a 50-yard lung-busting run down that right-hand side and whipping across to score from. It's just bonkers, absolutely bonkers. Do you know what? Moyes deserved that. Moyes deserved that defeat. Had we got out there with a 3-3 draw, it would almost be difficult to complain. We would complain about throwing away 2 points, but because we got a point, you'd almost have to feel a little bit of gratitude that we held on to get the point. And a draw away to Newcastle is a good result in theory. Moyes deserved to lose that game. He really did. We've dropped 5 points in the last 2 games. There will not be, I'm almost certain of this, there will not be 5 points between European football and non-European football at the end of the season. Come match day 38, the league's finished. Don't be surprised. We're in 9th and we've missed out on European football by 2, 3, 4 points. And you look back at these two and think, I know we've had Burnley at home as well, but this one, 3-1 up, and you lose 4-3 with half an hour to. It's just
no. Listen, but before we go, Gio, I've got 2 things to add and pick up on based on what you said. And by the way, thanks to everybody for sticking with us for another month. We very, very much appreciate it. All you lovely patrons. You had a turn of phrase there, which was really interesting, and that was that David Moyes. I know you didn't think this, but you said David Moyes might have thought, lightning can't strike twice with the fact of doing the Aston Villa and then what happens against Newcastle. The thing is, for David Moyes, I do believe he thinks it's a freak occurrence. I do believe he thinks it's an act of God. Some like lightning striking twice, some freak occurrence. But it's not some freak act of God's unnatural weather occurrence. It is just everyday normal stuff. It's what he does. It's not a surprise. It's not an act of God. It's to be expected. It's everyday run-of-the-mill stuff, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think he may well be surprised by that.